We just finished day 3 of our 2-week 8-state road trip, and while we're on this vacation we're stopping at different thrift stores and some garage sales along the way, and so far we've had some great finds, and I think we might already be getting close to paying for this trip. So you want to find out what we scored? Stay tuned. All right. So we are so excited about this trip. We've been having a ton of fun, and I would say so far it's been pretty successful. So we're 3 days in. We've been able to hit a few states, but here's the thing. When we decided to do this, we knew that this was going to be a vacation. We were going to go visit some family. We're going to go to a resort. We're going to do some fun things, and we've got a 2.5-year-old with us. So this is work. We're getting some thrift stores along the way, but we're not stopping at every thrift store. And so the finds that we're getting have been great. I think we're already well along our way to paying for this trip, but we could have gotten a lot more profit if we were stopping at every single thrift store. But you've got to be real. You've got to understand, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? How hard are you wanting to hustle in order to make the success you're trying to get? So without further ado, let's look at some of these scores that we've got. And let me just say, the very first score that we got on this trip is probably going to be the home run score of the trip. I don't know. I hope we find something better, but this has been a great score. But before I get there, let's just talk about, some of the thrift stores and the differences we've seen. So let me start off by saying the thrift stores in other states have definitely been different. California, especially Southern California, we've got Goodwills, we've got Salvation Armies, then we have the random hole-in-the-wall thrift stores. And Goodwill, we call it the store that should not be named for a reason where we're at. And what I've noticed is, as we've been in other places, the Goodwills are a little nicer. A lot of the Goodwills have tag sales, so a specific tag color will be on sale, and that's not something that we have in San Diego. In San Diego, they don't offer any sales at all. They never have any specials, and that can be a problem. We've also run into some really, really neat kind of really antique-y looking stores, to some really quaint stores, and everything in between. In fact, what we notice is some of the Goodwills in other states, they've got coffee available on the inside, like a little cafe. Of course, because of COVID, those parts are closed down, but it's been really neat. Even one place, they had just amazing book sales. If I had a little bit more time, we could have stopped and really checked out these books. Kind of wish I was still doing the scan-in books, but didn't have time for that. But it had a lot of really other neat things. We also hit up a Goodwill in my hometown, so only a few hours north of San Diego. And one of the things that we really liked about this store is it probably had our biggest sale of the entire trip. So while we were there walking around, and didn't think I was going to find much. The Goodwill on the outside didn't look too promising. The parking lot didn't look too promising. But then we got in and we're looking around, and clothes was a bust. Most home goods was a bust. But as I'm going around this corner and I see the shelf, I see some weights, some free weights. And I look closer and there's a lot of them. In fact, I picked up 270 pounds of standard weights for only, I think it was like $50 total for all of it. We picked up a few other things, paid $60 at the store. But these weights alone, normally in this market, what we've kind of seen, at least in the San Diego area, is weights are going for $2 to $3 a pound instead of the typical $1 a pound. So what I'm planning on doing is selling it here while I'm in Colorado, or while we're in Texas, because we're stopping for several days in each state at one place to visit family. So if I can sell these locally and not have to worry about traveling, taking them all the way back, because one of the bummers is getting these at the beginning of the trip kind of means I'm hauling it in my trailer the whole way, and that's 270 extra pounds. But I still am hoping I can maybe make $400 net profit, or at least $400 gross on these. And I won't have to carry it around the whole way. It'll be a fast flip, and that alone is going to pay for a ton of the trip. All right, the next thing I've done really well on this trip has been shoes. We found a lot of different shoes. In fact, we've talked a lot about Dansko's, kind of like the clog shoes, but then there's this other brand here. I think it's Sanista or something like that. I don't have it in front of me. I'll show a picture of it on the screen. But I picked up some of these at a thrift store. They had a ton of Dansko shoes, but they were trying to charge $20 each for the little clogs. and there just wasn't enough profit there. In fact, the store that we found these in was the store that on our last road trip we just scored huge. It was like our #1 store, so it was kind of a bummer that we didn't get as many things as we got last time there. We just picked up a few shoes. Last time we got that Montclair jacket that we made like $350 on, which was a great deal, which just goes to show thrift stores aren't always the same. Sometimes you go to a thrift store and it's fire, and you come back later and it's terrible. So you can't rely solely on one experience. That's one of the reasons you want to go to a thrift store multiple times, because just because it was a bust one time doesn't mean it's going to be great, and just because it's great doesn't mean it's going to be always great. So make sure that you're checking out that. But shoes have been really good. I picked up a pair of Doc Martens. I think I paid $10 for these. They wanted $25, but they were 50% off, and they gave me an additional discount. So I picked up some Doc Martens. Also picked up several different boots at a garage sale, which was really neat. Some Morels, kind of the typical. Here's another one though. We have these shape ups here. We've talked about shape ups before. Shape ups are a great bolo if you can find shape ups, especially in good shape like these ones are. You can tend to make a bunch of money on them. But in addition to these shape ups, here's these MTB shoes, which are fantastic ROI, especially if you can get them at a lower price. They might be a bolo on top of shape ups. They kind of have that same sole. People use them for fitness or things like that, so check out for these. My wife also found some really sweet scores with these. I'm not even sure the brand. She looked them up. I'll put them up on the screen so you can see, but it's like a Swedish workout clothing, women's tops, and we were able to pick up 20 of them at this thrift store. I think there's 2 different brands, but they're all new with tags, and there's multiple duplicates. So even though there's 20 total pieces, I think we only have a total of maybe 9 or 10 listings we're gonna have to do. And anytime you have the ability to do that, where you can pick up multiples of something, reduce the number of listings you have, that's gonna be more time you have available for sourcing or listing other items. So that's always a benefit. So we paid up a little bit. We paid $5.99 per item. But we should be able to make $25 to $30, even if we only made $20 off each of these, even if we only made $15 off of each of these. The fact that we're able to kind of buy in bulk is really, really nice. And so anytime you get a chance to buy bulk, sometimes it's worth paying up a little bit just for the ease and the fact that you're getting so many listings available in your store for one purchase, which is really, really helpful. All right. Another thing that I really haven't sold a ton of, I've sold a few. In fact, some of my bigger sales have been hats, but I found a few hats while I was out. I found this pretty cool Dolphins hat. You know, I don't know exactly whether or not it's vintage. I'll have to do a little bit of research, but it's definitely an older trucker Dolphins hat. The logo looks like it's older. So I'm hoping to be able to make a little bit of money here. I also picked up this Granger hat. Granger hats are really cool. Just kind of an old school vintage hat. It looks cool, and maybe somebody who used to work for Granger, or somebody who just likes the look of kind of that style. That Granger, I think, works perfectly for that vintage trucker hat instead of like a more modern brand. So I think that's going to be great. One of the things I don't know, and so maybe you can let me know down in the comments below, but how do you know for sure the years of hats? Because sometimes, you know, you look at tags on the inside, and you can use that for research, but you know, a hat might look old but it's newer, and a hat might look newer but it's older. So you know, I haven't sold tons of them. I haven't got the perfect experience with hats yet, but I know that, you know, hats are a good sale if you can get the right ones. All right, also picked up these Legos here. These are Lego Friends, so more, I guess, of the girl version of Legos. And I've never sold these ones before. I've sold Legos by the pound, and I haven't weighed these out, but I got these 2 bags here, and it has 3 different instruction sets, so I don't know if they're complete or not, but sometimes even having those manuals can help when you're selling, so you can sell it as a lot set and list those manuals so that people can know what types of pieces they're getting. So if they're looking for a specific set, they don't necessarily need it complete, but they want pieces for it. That's a good way of doing it. Or I can check to see if it's complete, but there's no way I'm going to do that because my time's too valuable for that. So I'll probably just sell it by pound and list the manuals that are in there. I also picked up some board games. You know, I love board games. This one is really, really cool. It's older Axis and Allies. I've actually never played Axis and Allies, which is interesting because I'm such a board game fanatic, and I know it's kind of a classic, more strategic board game, so not your typical Monopoly, but it's one I've never played. I know it takes a little bit longer, and for board games, you know, it can be a pain to check if all the pieces are there, but because I love it so much, I'll have a fun time going through these pieces and kind of seeing if they're all there. And if they're not, then maybe I keep it for myself. It was cheap enough. Here's another one. This was a Hunt for Red October, which was really, really cool. And I was thinking about picking it up. The price was right, but oh man, I don't know. It's tough because even though I just said I don't mind looking through pieces because I like board games, these were a lot of pieces and the comps just weren't there. I can maybe make $10 or $15, so the 20 minutes it's gonna take to see if it's a complete set just wasn't worth it. But it was really cool to see. I almost thought about picking it up just for me, but I have too many board games already. So you know, I'm thrifting for profit. I'm not thrifting for pleasure, even though it is fun sometimes. All right, I also picked up these trim line phones. These older phones like this, especially these colored ones, tend to sell really well. Unfortunately, these don't have the cords on them, but they're in pretty good condition for as old as they are. I might lot them together because they don't have the cords, and I picked them up for only like $2.99 each. So if I lot them together, I think I should still be able to sell them for a little bit. And what's funny is I recently was watching on like a TikTok video that if you ask anybody my age or older how they would sign a phone, they'd go like this, right? You know, hold it like this, just like you would hold an old school phone. And if you ask younger kids, teenagers, preteens, they're gonna go like this. So phones have definitely changed, but looking at these old vintage phones is kind of cool. And you know, it's neat, and hopefully I make a little bit of profit on these as well. All right, and finally, here's one more bolo for you. We've talked about it on the podcast before, but if you haven't heard or haven't listened to all of our bolo episodes, CrossFit shoes can do really, really well. I know CrossFit's under a little bit of, it's having some issues right now, so I don't know with gyms closed and all the issues going on, if CrossFit brand is going to be worth as much, maybe worth more, maybe worth less, but workout shoes in general, specifically weightlifting shoes, do really well because they're very specialized, people want them, and when you really get deep into a hobby like this, you're willing to spend the money for the brand and for the functionality, even if maybe there's not as much functionality, but hey, because people are willing to pay it, pick it up when you see it, as long as the price is right. So like I said, this is only the end of our third day. We stopped at a lot of thrift stores. We had a lot of fun driving around, seeing the country, seeing the beautiful sights. My son has been a trooper in the car, doing really, really well. So we've had a lot of fun with this, but we're not done yet, right? We're still here in Colorado for a few more days. We're gonna hit up some more thrift stores, maybe some garage sales. Then we're gonna be moving on to Texas. So hopefully while we're in Texas, we'll be able to pick up some more stuff. We'll be there for a while. And things are definitely different here in Colorado, and while we're in Utah, we saw a lot of Patagonia and North Face. I'm not sure what we're gonna find in Texas. So maybe let me know down in the comments below, what are the brands I should be looking out for in Texas? What are the bolos? What should I not be passing on that's gold there? Or common there that I might not be seeing very much in San Diego. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. You guys are awesome. Peace.